Hey guys, Gotham Geek Girl here, and I can finally talk about the all-new original series from Disney Plus, Moon Knight. Here's my completely spoiler-free first thoughts on the latest Disney Plus series. I saw the first 4 episodes, and here are my initial impressions of what I've seen so far. I'm going to discuss what worked and what didn't work for me. You guys know I'm always completely honest in my reviews, and I don't hold back. For more detailed breakdown, you can check out my full written review on GothamGeekGirl.com and GeekHQ.org. The supernatural action-adventure series is based on Moon Knight by Doug Moench and Don Perlin. Similar to Hawkeye, it's only going to be 6 episodes. I don't typically care for the 6 episodes, as I felt like that kind of wrapped up pretty poorly. They kind of rushed things, so let's see what happens with episodes 5 and 6. But the series is coming to Disney Plus on March 30th, and it's the 6th Marvel Studios series for the streaming service. It stars Golden Globe winner Oscar Isaac, Ethan Hawke, and Calamawy. Here's a quick synopsis. Isaac plays Stephen Grant, a mild-mannered gift shop employee who becomes plagued with blackouts and memories of another life. He discovers he has a dissociative identity disorder and shares a body with mercenary Marc Spector. As Stephen and Mark's enemies converge upon them, they must navigate their complex identities while thrust into a deadly mystery among the powerful gods of Egypt. While struggling with multiple personalities and defining his personal moral obligations, Mark fights against the supernatural as a cloaked avenger, Moon Knight. So who is Moon Knight? Moon Knight first appeared in Marvel Comics in Werewolf by Night number 32 in 1975, and Marc Spector, aka Moon Knight, has continued his comic book exploits on the pages for 47 years, and still ongoing. Marc Spector, aka Stephen Grant, was a former Marine and CIA operative who became a mercenary, and ultimately the earthly avatar of the Egyptian moon god, Khonshu. While sometimes a hero and other times a villain, at the bidding of the god, Mark was always dealing with his own mental health. The series explores Stephen's fight for sanity and his struggle to keep a grip on reality. Oscar does a fantastic job in portraying a man with multiple personalities. However, Moon Knight is overshadowed by these identities. What didn't work for me is the overall tone of the series. It's Marvel's basic formula. Everything feels safe, comedic. I honestly feel like it felt like a similar portrayal to Tom Hardy's version of Venom. It also feels like a sequel to the Mummy movies. While Isaac was super enjoyable and honestly was the best part of the series, he did make it interesting. Moon Knight just plays it safe. Moon Knight can be just as brutal as Batman and as violent as Frank Castle. Some even consider him the Marvel equivalent to Batman, so why water him down? Not all Marvel comics are lighthearted and campy. We also don't get much fighting till about the 3rd episode. Ideally, there's a scene where he rips a face off in the comics. You could say and argue that it was Khonshu, but I mean, it did happen. So I wish the series went a little darker. Not to say it had to be completely rated R, as violent as, say, The Punisher or Logan, but I kind of wish the tone was a little darker and not so safe and kid-friendly. Aside from holding back on the blood and brutality, Moon Knight does exhibit some spectacular qualities. They did a very good job modernizing his suit. He looks cool, and like someone you don't want to mess with. His shield techniques are well done and they explore healing capabilities. I just wish it pushed the limits a little further and gave us a violent depiction of the Crescent Crusader. However, the show does a great job in depicting Stephen's struggles with depression and explores the length he goes to keep his personalities in check. It explores Spector's many ongoing conflicts as a character, his relationships with his friends, his allies, and most importantly, himself. Oscar's on point in switching back and forth between the characters. He really does a great job in breaking them down. Before anyone complains about his poorly done British accent, it's done on purpose, and he perfectly transitions between the different personalities, even arguing with himself. I love how he surrenders control to summon the suit. There's a really funny scene you guys gotta watch out for. Ultimately, Stephen Grant is sad and lonely and crazy. Appears crazy. He's neurotic, he tries not to sleep, and he loses all sense of time and reality. Another tiny little thing that bothered me was, instead of him seeking help, he just kind of loses track of himself, and you're left to question why people at work don't seem to notice he's been missing for days. This is completely different from his millionaire persona in the comics, aka similar to Bruce Wayne, so it's fine to differentiate him a little more from Batman. And this works better having him be completely opposite of Mark. Marc Spector's violent, strong, confident, and the protector, avatar of Khonshu, the Egyptian god of the moon. In the comics, Mark sets about creating not only a costumed identity dubbed Moon Knight, but 2 other personalities to aid him in his fight against crime. Millionaire Stephen Grant and cab driver Jake Lockley. I wonder if we're going to see Jake later on. Mark's CIA career and mercenary training, mixed with boxing skills, martial arts, gymnast, athleticism, makes him a worthy opponent. He has a high degree of tactical and strategic skills as well as combat and weapons expertise. He can also speak multiple languages. In the comics, Marc also has a disagreement with the Avengers and the Secret Avengers as he spends some time with them, but he's against their code against killing. This series also felt completely disconnected from the rest of the MCU, so I wonder if we'll see any of that explode later on. Moon Knight, Grant, and Spector are all played by Isaac. He's also joined by Ethan Hawke as the antagonist Arthur Harrow, actor May Calamawy as a blast from the past, archaeologist and adventurer Layla Al-Faleh, and F. Murray Abraham. He provides the smooth talking and booming voice of the Egyptian god Khonshu, for whom Spector's an avatar. Let's get to the villains without giving away any spoilers. Bushman, played by Loic Mambaza, feels like a mere henchman. In the comics, he's one of his oldest nemesis. Bushman worked as a mercenary in Sudan with Spector as his former right-hand man. So I wonder if they're going to get him into his past at some point, or he's just been completely downgraded. We also have Anton Mogart. Sadly, Gaspard Ulay passed away. This was his last role. His character appears as a master thief, stealing priceless works of art, jewels, and artifacts from around the world. He later becomes known as Midnight Man, so I don't really know if this will happen now with this series. Rest in peace to Gaspard. He was only 37. This now brings me to Arthur Harrow, who's the main villain played by Ethan Hawke. I was initially surprised they went with Harrow, as his character's only really been in like a single comic book appearance. So it's generally unknown, most of his story, but it's really awesome seeing him in this because I was super intrigued by his character. Hawke ultimately gave a compelling performance, and you can really see the direction that the showrunners were going for, so I really do like him as a villain. He's definitely relatively obscure for Marvel, and they tend to be known to, I guess, play around and have creative freedom with lesser known characters. So his inclusion is interesting as a main enemy on the show. So this could be some major moves for them to take in the future. Harrow is some kind of like cult messiah. He's enchanted believers, and he has a very powerful influence over people. He's charismatic, eerily quiet, and creepy. He's also the former avatar of the First Fist of Vengeance, and he plans to eradicate evil. Fans will see that more. I'm not going to get into that. It was very important for the producers at Marvel in telling Moon Knight's story and keeping the character grounded in his comic book heritage. The filmmakers wanted this unique character. They wanted to tell this story in an episodic way and pay homage to the comics. One thing the show executed very well from the comics was embracing its supernatural element and the important aspects of Egyptian mythology. The ruthless god Khonshu manipulates Marc to do his bidding, and the series really embodies that well. A quote from Kevin Feige: "We have fascination and reverence for Egyptian history, as does the world." So it was very exciting to take Moon Knight's origin story, which is grounded in Egyptology, and infuse it with globe-trotting adventure, intensity, and mystery. The edge, dark themes of Moon Knight, and the exploration of the unique character add another dimension to the MCU storytelling. Ultimately, they did a great job with the effects. The locations were fantastic. The fight choreography was decent. I just wish it, like I mentioned earlier, I wish they went a little harder. We didn't really get much blood, and not to say it has to be like The Punisher, but I would have liked a little more action here and there. The suit was awesome. Well done effects. The casting was fantastic. Like I mentioned, it feels very disconnected from the MCU. Not a single mention. Nothing really tied anything, but we'll see later on what they do. And there's a lot of unanswered questions and unexplained events. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some flashbacks or some incitement into more of his past, and I wish it was a little darker. But yep, that's my take. Definitely check it out. It is out tomorrow, March 30th, releasing on Disney+.